Hello there everyone and welcome to a new review on the channel. Today we are going to be looking at a new product which is actually POV by Joao Miranda and Julio Montoro. I know it's been a long time since my last review, but we've kind of updated the setup and I've updated a few things, so hopefully it's going to all be better. Now, let's not talk about that too much. Let's roll the intro and get straight into the review. Perfect. So you're interested in learning more about POV. Now, what is POV? It's, as the title says, and as on the product page, it is a peek device. It's a post-it note that is going to let you peek the information that the spectator is going to write down. Now, one of the most common things on my channel is to provide you guys with a performance. Now, of course, I don't have anyone with me, but I did take the liberty last night of asking someone to write a number. I then placed the post-it pad inside of the box and I have no clue what number they wrote. So it's going to act as if it was an actual live presentation. Now, I do want to mention that in the presentation, at one point I do have the back of the post-it note facing you and the information facing me, but trust me, it is not my goal to not be transparent. So I'm not going to look at the information at all until I'm supposed to in the actual routine. So now we're going to go directly into the actual performance. So how it would run is you would show the post-it pad just like this and you would tell someone that in a moment they're going to write something on the face. Now, of course, here there's already something written, but normally there wouldn't be. So you're going to tell them to think of any two-digit number that they want. They'll do so, and while they'll do so, you'll look for the pen because you'll want to give them a pen to actually write with. So they're going to take the pen and they're going to write on the post-it note while your head is turned away. So now is going to be the time that they actually write on the post-it note. Let's say they finish writing about now, they'll cap the pen and you ask them, can you just also take the note off? They're going to take the note off of the pad. You're going to put the pad in your pocket. All of this is done while you are looking away. I'll crumple it up here so I can't see. And that is how the effect looks like. And at this point, I have the information. I know that the number that was written down was 73. And just to make sure for myself as well, since this was the first time that I actually saw the number, just to see that is indeed number 73. So it was indeed 73. And that is it. So that is what POV looks like in one of the handlings. So now that that's out of the way, let's get into what you get, where you buy this, and how much does it cost. So POV costs $49.99. It's available at all your favorite magic dealers. And what you get is this. You get this little box, and inside you get a few things. The first thing you get is the link to the instructions. And the instructions are short YouTube videos paired together in different sections. So your first section is kind of the intro. It goes over the history and shows you what you get. And then it goes over essentially how the gimmick works, what it is, and what it's supposed to do. And afterwards, you get a section on handlings. You have 6 different handlings presented to you. You have the one that I showed you. You have one where you actually hand the post-it pad to the spectator for them to write. You have one which is kind of with a sliding mechanism. It's very interesting, and there's a lot of handlings provided here to suit you. There's definitely one that's going to suit you. Now, there's also after that a few effects. There's the effect I've showed you with the number, the 2-digit or 3-digit, or just a small drawing, and you're able to guess. Then there's one with the cards. It's a really fun routine with a deck of playing cards. Then there's kind of a drawing duplication. Then there's one that I believe is on Joao Miranda's YouTube page, which is with a mirror, where both you and the spectator are doing the same thing, and it ends up that both of you did the exact same thing. And then you have a section on how to maintain the gimmick if ever you need, if ever comes the need for you to maintain it, which is super easy, done with things you have in the house. Then what you get is a regular post-it pad. You get that. Then you also get your gimmick. Let me make sure here it's not visible. You also get your gimmick, which is this. And yeah, that is what you get with your purchase of POV. So let's get into the first category, which is difficulty. Is this a difficult effect to perform? No, it is not difficult. It will require a bit of practice, not much, but just a bit of practice. And apart from that, I would say that even a beginner could do it because it's not that difficult. The practice will come in making sure that you do the peak in a moment where it's not obvious. Of course, you do want to, as you're holding it here, to tell them, yes, can you take the post-it note and look directly at it? So you're gonna have to work on making sure you get the peak in kind of a sneaky way, depending on the handling that you choose. Maybe if you choose the handling with the spectator, you're gonna have to do some audience management for them not to start flicking on the gimmick or looking through it. That's kind of where the difficulty is, because in itself, the peak is super easy to do, super natural, and it's great. So difficulty-wise, not so difficult. Now, what about the performance? Where do you perform this? And I feel that that is a question that a lot of people are going to ask is, how do you perform this? What are the angles? What are the light conditions? What do you need to know? What can you write with? And I'll get all these questions out of the way. First, let's get with the writing tool. I do believe that if you're in a really well-lit environment, such as I am right now, you could maybe get away with a smaller marker, a finer Sharpie, or maybe a pen. You could maybe get away with that. But most of the time, you will want to use a Sharpie. So any Sharpie, any color will work, but most of the time you will want to use a Sharpie for this. So the writing tool has to be a Sharpie, but maybe you could get away with something else in certain environments. But to be safe, I'd recommend a Sharpie. Second of all, lighting conditions. How good is this with the light? And to get your peak, Joao Miranda goes over this on his website as well and on his Facebook group. You can, even on the actual tutorial, you can be in fully dim lighting in darkness as long as there's a light source in front of you. So as long as there's a light source in front of you when you're doing your peak, you are good to go. So even if behind you and yourself are covered in sheer darkness, as long as there's a bit of light in front of you, you are good to go. So the lighting conditions is really, really good, and the peak is clear, which means that even if you're like me, and you have glasses or you have contacts or you have eye problems, even in dim lighting, you are gonna see it clear as day. It is really easy to read the peak from the actual device. So lighting conditions, perfect as well. If you do it outside, you're gonna be great, except maybe if you do it at 9 p.m. on a dark street in an alleyway, you're probably not gonna get this through because there's not much light. But if you're a street performer during the day and it's nice sunny outside, you are good to go. Now, what about the angles? The angles are pretty good. For the most part, I would say 180 from where you're holding the pad. So if you're holding the pad here, I would say a 180 from around there. Right? A 360 would be a bit hard because from the back, if there's someone looking from the back, there's a bit of an issue, but are some handlings as well, which are a bit more tight on angles. For example, there's one where if there's someone completely like parallel to you, they'll maybe gonna see that something fishy is going on. However, most of them, even if there's someone fully at your parallel at the like angle here, you're most likely gonna pass through in the way you're gonna get the peak. So I would say angle-wise, 180. I wouldn't go as far as saying much more. So that's kind of performance environment style and getting all those main questions out of the way. Now let's talk about practicality. Is this practical to perform? How is the reset? How does this work? So to perform this, you're gonna need to carry around with you at all times 3 things. You're gonna have to carry a normal Post-it pad, you're gonna have to carry your gimmick, and you're gonna have to carry a Sharpie. So that's what you're gonna have to carry with you in order to perform. Now, the extra pad that you have can be used in certain routines, but for the most part, it's going to be to refill the paper, which is something I also want to briefly talk about, is that there is no refills for this. You're never gonna have to buy a refill. The device will probably last you a lifetime if you take care of it. It's not gonna break. Even if it stains maybe a bit, you can easily wash it off. So it's probably gonna last you a very long time. And all you need to do is just refill the actual pad with paper from Post-it notes. And I know he provides you with an actual Post-it note from that company, but I use the post-it notes from the dollar store. So sticky minis. So these fit and play perfectly well as well. So you're not obliged to only get post-it, because maybe if you're in a country where it's easier to get something from the dollar store off brand, as long as it is the size of your pad, so it's like a mini post-it, you are good to go. So I did want to get that out of the way. There's no need for refills or anything like that. But nonetheless, you're going to have to carry that no matter what, as I said, to refill the second pad, your gimmick, and the Sharpie. So I'll have to carry that around with you. But again, pretty small. Like, this is the extent of what you need. So you can easily just place these in your top pocket and your pen, and you are good to go. Pretty minimal in terms of what you have to carry around with you. So that's pretty much all I have to say about the product. It covers pretty much all the cases. So now let me give you some positives and some negatives. There's not many negatives to this, so I'm going to start with the negatives. What are the negatives? One negative is I've seen a lot of people want the pad to be bigger. They don't really like that the pad is really small. They would like a pad to be bigger. That's not really an issue for me, because for the reason that I bought this, the pad being just small, you know, they could take away, put it in your pocket, just kind of be thrown out of the way quite easily, is something that doesn't bother me, but I know it's something that could be an issue for you. And another concern that I found that may be a negative for you is that you are necessarily kind of constricted in the most part to a Sharpie, and maybe some people do not want to use a Sharpie to write on a post-it note. They feel that no one would actually write with a Sharpie, or that the ink may bleed through the second page and the spectator may think that that's how you're reading the information. That's magician thinking, but it is still something that I have to point out and that I've already mentioned, but that could be a negative for you as well. That's the only negatives I can actually see, because there's much more positives to this effect than negatives. First of all, the device is well built and will probably last you a long time. It's also easy to maintain, easy to clean if need be. Also, I love the fact that there's so many different handlings and that you can adapt it to yourself. That is definitely a bonus. Also, you're not only, as I mentioned, constrained to actual post-it pads. You can use off-brands as well. As long as it's the same size, it's fine, because you don't have to buy any refills. You just buy for $1. Like, for example, for me, I got 12 pads for $1. So that's probably going to last me for like a year and a half, since you're only using one paper at a time for the effect. The reset is also quick. You just stick a new piece of paper on the device and you continue your effect. It's easy to do, it's practical, it's small, it's easy to carry around, and also the lighting conditions aren't that much of an issue. You have good angles, so everything is really good about this. So let's get into the verdict. Would I recommend POV by Joao Miranda and Julio Montoro? My answer is yes, if you're looking for a new device. For example, for my use, I really wanted something new in order to do with Lightyear by Carl Purnell. That's coming in the mail, and I'm going to do a review of it, because I didn't want the spectator to write something and for me to put it in my Peak wallet, or for me to bring like a notepad and have to write them down on the notepad, just a 2-digit number on a huge notepad, and then have them rip it out. It didn't feel natural, so I wanted something new in order to do this effect, and this came out at the perfect time. So if you're looking to replace your Peak wallet or your impression pad for more casual performances, or for certain effects where you don't feel the need that a notepad is necessarily something you want to carry around, then I definitely recommend this. If you're also just really into peaks and peak devices, this is definitely something you would like to have. However, if this is your first time looking for a peak device, I think this is perfect for you, because it's well built and it's really of good quality. So I definitely recommend POV. For those people that like a more numerical value, I would give POV by Joao Miranda and Julio Montoro a 9 on 10. It's a solid product, as are, in my opinion and in my experience, all of Joao Miranda's products. They're always of the highest quality. They're always super good, at least the ones that I've bought. So I would definitely recommend buying this and using this, because I do think it's usable, and it's definitely something that I can't wait to go out and use. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for listening to me. Make sure to comment, like, subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see everyone in my next video.